in this beautiful part of the state. Thank you.
We know based on what's happening down in Washington, D.C., that we're going to have to prepare to go it alone when it comes to our transportation infrastructure and building a modern and competitive transportation infrastructure. And yes, it includes roads and bridges. Yes, it includes rails. Yes, it includes leveraging our airports and tapping our untapped ports that we haven't really fully implemented up to date. But what we can do directly here for Torrington, we can concentrate on another piece of our infrastructure that I talked about in my economic plan, and that is high-speed internet statewide. What does that do? That helps small businesses who are just getting started, building that entrepreneurial spirit right here in Torrington. Those businesses that already exist here in Torrington, the small and medium-sized businesses, helping them to scale up their businesses with that high-speed internet. And so that's going to be critical. Now, I talked about incubators. More incubators throughout the state to help our small businesses build and grow, right here in Torrington as well. And so that's going to help jobs come to Torrington, that's going to help young people come and build a vibrant community that they can all continue to build jobs and the community as well. So thank you.
Simply put, a comprehensive infrastructure plan for the state of Connecticut that we can implement. But in order to implement it, we need to be able to pay for it. Unfortunately, I think I'm singing to the choir for those that understand that the transportation fund is broke. There's no money there. Last time they went out and tried to go to Wall Street to get it funded with a pro forma over a number of years, the projections just weren't there for the revenue. We need to fix that. We need to be able to fund the transportation fund so we can fund infrastructure. But some of it's on the improvements and the growth, certainly in this part of the state as elsewhere. But some of it's basic fundamentals to try and make sure we don't have bridges that fall again. Or highways that need repairs that we don't have the funding for. So fundamentally, it's back, unfortunately, to understanding the challenges of state budget, putting it back on track, including the transportation fund.
When I was in the state senate, I opposed the busway because for about 600 or 700 million of that 9.2 miles, we could have had commuter rail from Hartford down through Waterbury, New Britain, Bristol, where a majority of our jobs, in some ways, a huge number of our jobs were pre the highway. And that's that bottom-up economic development. You put in rail, you have economic development. We need to rely on other spurs, other rail to be able to move people around, move products around. We also need to move ideas around too. So fiber optics are crucial. And thankfully, Representative Cook, former Representative Willis are working regionally here to try to wire, whether it's Torrington or smaller towns, because we cannot have a modern economy when some of Mayor Cronin's people don't have the speed of internet or when people in this area of the state. Ports are crucial too, that's correct, and Scott Bates is head of the Port Authority here, so he can talk to you about that after, to be able to have freight plug into our state from outside. All of this has to be comprehensive.
I hosted a conference a couple of years ago. I got the governor and our political leaders together with some of the senior folks from GE. And it was a gee whiz, why did GE leave? And it really didn't have anything to do with taxes. That didn't come up. It had to do with transportation. And the fact that recruiting young people up to a small suburban campus was increasingly difficult. And the building a transportation system, what that means for bringing back Hartford and New Haven and Bridgeport and having a vibrant center there where young people want to be and a GE can stay is extraordinarily important. And that's why you have to change the way we're doing business in Washington and change, make sure that we get Democrats in our legislature here in Hartford. You know, it's interesting, the Business Commission that just came out with their recommendations, they were recommending tolling. They know how important infrastructure's got to be. Donald Trump has got it wrong. The biggest problem this country has made over the last generation is not investing in our future, not investing in our infrastructure, and I'm not going to let that happen to Connecticut.
Thank you. And I want to say that we've had great questions from the audience, and it is frustrating that we can't go through the categories that remain because we simply have run out of time. I think that we all could listen to all of you for a longer period of time. One of our members in the audience wanted all of you to understand how important Northwestern Connecticut Community College is to our area. And so people are worried about taxes, people leaving. young people leaving because they can't afford to live here, and the feelings that perhaps some members of our community, older citizens, are simply not getting the opportunity that they need. Talking about a demand for free college education, energy. We didn't really get there, but very much interested in renewables, the high cost of electricity in this state, and you're going to hear that probably all over the state, and in supporting a transition for Connecticut into clean energy. Gun control, would you specifically commit to regulation of ghost guns and banning bump stocks? And from a member of the audience, with these mass shootings, would you release Adam Lanza's medical records to make clear whether there is a link between violence and, I think, mental health issues?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's talked about all the time, and there is, people who are mental health advocates say that there are many people in that community who have no such desire or issue. And really, how are we in this terrible economy going to support social services? I'm sure as you travel around the state of Connecticut, the balance between those very legitimate needs of people will be something that is discussed. But I'm sure that everyone is thankful that you're here tonight, and I think we're giving everybody 3 minutes to wrap up. I'm going to start with Ned.
Thank you, Ann. Just to lift off of a couple of questions you had there. Protecting the most vulnerable in our society is one of our #1 requirements, and we have challenged that. We're cutting back on mental health. We're cutting back on group homes. We're cutting back on social services in the schools. The very place which is on the front line. These are core functions of our government. We're letting this budget crisis undermine, and it undermines the most vulnerable. And you mentioned Northwest Community College. Look, I want to be a champion of the community colleges. As I tried to suggest before, matching the skill set with the jobs that are going begging is so important. Look, New York community colleges are free. Rhode Island, they're almost free. And right now, those kids are flowing to those places. They're getting the education and taking our jobs, and that's going to stop. These are some of the most important investments we could make. And I will say, Susan mentioned we need somebody with heavyweight, private sector experience, and that's what I do. I'm a progressive with that type of experience. And I'll tell you one thing I heard that I don't really agree with is a couple of the candidates are saying, I want the state of Connecticut to invest in this business, invest in that business, and no, I don't want a bunch of politicians moving around the investment dollars there. The private sector is going to take care of that. I want a government that takes care of what we're supposed to do. An honestly balanced budget, invest in our education, and invest in the infrastructure we've talked about so long. And I'll tell you what else we need if you really want to get this state growing again. You need a governor who believes in this state. You need a governor who's going to be a champion for the state. I was a little distressed to hear, the Economic Commission came out today and they said, this is a ship on fire. Okay, we got some problems, and I'm going to work through these problems. But it's an extraordinary state, with one of the great workforces in the world, a gateway to where we ought to be, beautiful environment, and we're going to turn this state around. And my job is to make you believe that we can do that. My job is to make sure that young people believe that this is a place they want to be, and make sure that business knows, look, I'm not going to solve it tomorrow, I can't solve it in a year, but we can start. And you're going to have a sense of direction where this state's going to be in 10 years, and that's how you create jobs, and that's how you get this state going again. And these guys have heard me say it before, but I'm going to say it again. I turned 64 last month, so I'm not doing this as a stepping stone. I'm not doing this looking for the next gig. I love this state. I met Annie in the state. Emily, Lindsay, and Teddy were married in the state. I started my business in the state. I've been campaigning around the state. I've gotten to know so many of you. I love the state. And my job is to make you believe in the state as well. Make you and the business community and our young people believe this is where they want to be. And I come from a part of the state where a lot of the guys are saying, Connecticut can't get out of its own way. I'm moving to Del Rey. Well, not me. I wouldn't go anywhere. I'm sticking to Connecticut. This is where I want to be. I'm going to convince each and every one of you that our best days are ahead of us, and that's why I'm running for governor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Al. I agree with what Ned said. We can do this. We can get out of this. We got to focus. We have to do things that we talked about tonight. But I'll tell you something, I am, as I said, the proven progressive problem solver. I have the track record from all levels of government. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. I know what I know. Perhaps more importantly at my age, I know what I don't know. But I see a lot of smart people out there and here that can add to the policy mix and help create the solutions for us to get out of this mess. That forward-looking horizon of problem solving, of getting people together to create common sense solutions. When I was mayor, I told you about the fire contract. Nobody thought that we could bring people together. We were able to do that. Progressive problem solving, experience. When I was a state senator, we found out that the Catholic Church was not providing the Plan B emergency contraceptive to survivors of sexual assault. They literally wanted someone that had been brutalized to go to the street corner and get a taxi cab and go to another hospital. Unacceptable. We brought the church, we brought other people together, we created a bill that gave access to all survivors to that Plan B and created a better platform to be able to deal with the issues surrounded by sexual assault. At Consumer Protection, again, with huge cuts in our budget, more to do. We took that fledgling medical marijuana program that's providing relief to veterans with PTSD, providing relief to people suffering from cancer, hospice, kids seizing numerous times a day. And we were able to grow that into another effective healthcare choice. Back in the Senate, speaking of healthcare, especially because Republicans and Donald Trump want to deny us healthcare, I helped pass, I championed as the public health chair, the Sustanet plan, which is our version of a public option, modeled on Romneycare. It is here now. We need to dust this off and make this work. Healthcare for all, it's a right, it's fiscally responsible. We need to do that here in Connecticut. I told you about the three pathways. We talked about getting our arms around our fiscal crisis, about the economic development. Added to economic development is also pay equity, paid family leave, minimum wage increases. Those are attractive for young people, other people to come to our state. We need to push forward on that. And finally, with education, we need to refocus, re-strategize from pre-K to grad school and make sure our curriculum is designed for the jobs of today and more importantly for the jobs of tomorrow. If you choose to go to college, you have a place to go. If you choose not to and want to be a skilled worker occupation, that we build the public-private partnerships from our schools, internships to jobs that'll get our economy growing. Democrats, on our progressive values, we can get this done. Let's maintain that and take that mantle back.
Doug, thank you. Again, thanks to everyone for being here. I think we've shared, I think, collectively, a lot of information, a lot of views, all important. All important to us as Democrats, many of which we agree on. I want to just state again where I started. My campaign is about building a new Connecticut economy that works for everyone. People in every city and town. It's what I've committed myself to in public service for my years as mayor, trying to solve problems, bring people together that can deal with some of the challenges we have right now, as we've all acknowledged, probably first and foremost, the budget crisis. Put the Connecticut economy back on track by putting Connecticut's budget back on track. Then, as leaders, with shared collective values as Democrats, in the part of the process, we move ahead on the things that are so important, as well as the economy and job creation, decent paying jobs, fully funding, as was mentioned, and needs to be because it's a constitutional right, fully funding education, good quality education in all our schools, and then as we touched upon here, I think to continue to support our higher education centers, and I have a special affection to our community colleges as well. I know in Bridgeport as well, with Housatonic, some of the advancements and opportunities that are there for individuals that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity for higher education. We have a program there that puts them into 100% placement after going through a curriculum. What a great opportunity. We need to continue to support and everywhere we can to fund it. Sure, I'd love to be in a position to stand up here and talk about free college tuition. I'm a graduate of UConn myself. My daughter graduated there. I would have loved to have seen and see individuals flock into Connecticut or stay here because of that. We can do that. We can do all these things that are important to us as Democrats if we continue to lead the state of Connecticut. We need to do it. We need to put a vision out there that shows that we put this thing back on track, and then to carry forward hope and vision for Connecticut. I look forward to continued dialogue with people here, all across Connecticut, and the other candidates, so we can get this thing done and move Connecticut forward. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you all again for having me and coming together to hear all of the candidates speak today. I want to end where I started, and that is with opportunity. You know, and that's why I'm a Democrat, because I've always believed that the Democratic Party was always the party of opportunity. A fair shot for everybody, no matter who you are, here in Connecticut. But I also believe that we have to recognize the significant challenges that we have today, that it is a crisis. I do agree with the Commission's assessment today, the Commission on Fiscal Stability, when they said we are in a crisis. We have to recognize that to get better, to launch our state on an upward trajectory. We have to recognize that our economic growth is too slow. Recognize that our population is declining on both ends, our younger people and our seniors and baby boomers as well. That our taxes are high, that we're not as competitive as our neighboring states, and that at the end of the day, people across Connecticut have lost faith in our state government. And so I say the dam is leaking. Our town is filling up with water. And we can't waste time pointing fingers. We can't waste time till next session. We've got to get on the job right now. We as Democrats have to be leaders. We have to demonstrate results and solutions. We have to demonstrate collaboration, that we can work together to get results for the people of Connecticut, to get our economy launched forward. You know, I didn't talk about the education earlier, so I do want to make a quick couple comments on that. Our community colleges are crucial. They're critical to our school-to-work pipeline here in Connecticut. Currently, we have over 13,000 jobs that are going unfilled in the manufacturing sector. I visited on my jobs tour that I mentioned, Quinebaug Valley Community College, their advanced manufacturing center, seeing students within one semester getting the job for $14 an hour in an internship, and within 2 semesters getting a job paying $20+ an hour with good pay and with good benefits. We have to continue to support our community colleges and not take community out of those colleges across the state of Connecticut. As governor, you've got to be a cheerleader. We are in a crisis, but it's solvable, and we can, if we work now, we can't wait, we can launch our state forward, bringing people together. Yes, the talented and educated workforce that we have here is strong. Yes, we have some great resources. We have to bring them to bear to move forward. And you know, as someone who hasn't run for office before, I mentioned I bring a different experience. My military experience, my corporate and business experience, and my experience running a state agency. But as someone who hasn't run for office before, I'm not running because it's the next political job I want or a line on my resume. And I'm not running for a lifetime job in elected office. I'm not running this time to better position myself next time. I'm running to roll up my sleeves, jump in the trenches, and offer my leadership to elevate service over politics. That's what we have to do as leaders. That's what we have to do as Democrats to win this election. Thank you.
When I was in law school, I wrote a book about Ella Grasso. It's the first biography of the first woman governor elected in her own right in Connecticut. And when Ella Grasso took office as governor in 1975, she faced a problem that is much like one we face today. And that is that she had a $500 million deficit inherited from her Republican predecessor. And I know it seems small in today's budget terms, but it was huge. And how did Governor Grasso deal with that big problem? She dealt with it with compassion. She was a person of the people. She understood what working families in Connecticut were going through because she was the granddaughter of immigrants. She was a mom. She served as a state representative. She served as Secretary of the State, as a member of Congress prior to being governor. And she had not only the government experience, but she had the financial expertise to get the state out of the mess that it was in at the time. I believe that my experience as a mom, as the granddaughter of immigrants, as someone who's put 3 kids through college, as someone who cares for elderly parents, as a businesswoman, as a lawyer, as a former public servant, I understand what families are going through in Connecticut. I bring that compassion, and I bring the toughness to get the job done, and I think it's important that we all are in this together. We need to win together. We are Democrats, we need to win, because we are on the cusp of losing our state senate or winning it. If we work together, we can win it back. We can win a bigger majority in the state house, and we have to look and see which candidate amongst the talent and the intellect that's at this table, who's the best person to lead our candidates to victory together. And I'm unique amongst the candidates here, because I am the only one that has won statewide 3 times before, and our polling shows that I am the strongest both in a primary and the only Democrat that can beat the 2 top Republicans, Mr. Boughton and Mr. Herbst. So I look forward to earning your support, and I hope we can work together to win together to make Connecticut the best it can be. Thank you so much.
So first of all, Judge, and to Larry and Audrey and to everybody who's here, thank you so much again for having us. I think we've got a lot of really great candidates up here, and I think we should all be proud as Democrats. I said at the start, when I became mayor, I had to battle an unprecedented fiscal crisis. And I tried to do it honestly and transparently, and not by kicking the can, and we had to do some really hard things. And that's one of the reasons why I know that it's really important to be willing to say some hard truths. And that's why when there's a yes or no question, I don't feel I can answer with a yes or no. I'll tell you what I really think. And I think it's important for us to be willing to tell ourselves and tell each other what we really think. Because I don't think we're going to win this just by telling folks what they want to hear. I think what Connecticut wants to see is a leader who's willing to do hard things, but is grounded and balanced by a moral compass and the heart of a Democrat. We're all going to have to do some hard things. I wish we could do single payer, but in the meantime, I'm going to do everything I can to support Chris Murphy's Medicare for All bill as a pathway in the right direction. But what I'm also going to do is always be honest about where we are. And at a time when our social safety net is being chipped away, look, for a while, folks, the best we may be able to do is preserve what we've got as we build for the future. As we face a crisis but refuse to be defined by crisis and lay out a path that people can have confidence in, which is what we've done in the city of Hartford. And I said before that there's an enormous amount at stake for our country in this election. And I deeply believe that. Because if you think that Republican-style politics can't come to Connecticut, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention when Republican candidates get up and say that they regret their vote on the common sense gun laws that were passed after Sandy Hook and would roll them back. And you're not paying attention when we have justices like Andrew McDonald who are eminently qualified, who are questioned for hour after hour with thinly veiled homophobia. And you're not paying attention when they're out there saying that they're going to push to make Connecticut a right-to-work state. There is so much at stake. But I have tremendous confidence, not only that we can get this state on the right track, but that we can make sure we keep this state blue. And the reason for that is, last weekend I was in Bethel, and at a Moms Demand Action meeting about common sense gun laws, where there are usually 10 people, there were 250. And where Stratford, as I said at the start, went 25 points Republican on Tuesday, it went blue. We can win this because we have the better ideas, and because we are going to blow up the myth that Republicans have a claim to fiscal responsibility. After this last disastrous tax cut on top of the Bush disastrous tax cut, on top of Republicans Connecticut not funding pensions for 3 decades, we have as good a claim to that as anyone, and we won't cede it. So I look forward to continuing the process, and again, I hope to earn your support. Thank you for having us all.